Welcome to my Vision News. Two news stories. First one is about a key meeting of the ruling party from Wednesday. A 10-day long meeting of the Prosperity Party is going to start reportedly. Meeting of mainly Amhara Prosperity Party. We have been seeing new developments, unrest, protests, tensions, clashes in the Amhara region. That is why this new meeting has been called. Key changes are expected. We have learned about likely changes. We want to share it with you. And secondly, viewers, I want to share with you the plight of Ethiopians and Eritreans who are in Sudan, the refugees. What are the two governments doing? Are they doing anything to rescue their people who are facing multiple threats? They are being abducted and taken to Libya. Firstly, viewers, Prosperity Party is going to start a long meeting from tomorrow. Amhara Prosperity Party. The meeting will be held in Bahir Dar, the regional capital. What is the agenda? Evaluation reportedly. The performance of Prosperity Party members, officials will be evaluated and then changes will be made. If you remember, I have been updating you that federal government, Ethiopian army, they showed their displeasure with Amhara Prosperity Party leaders at some recent meetings, especially with lower rank officials of the Amhara Prosperity Party. When Amhara Special Force was disbanded, decision was approved by Prosperity Party. Amhara PP leaders, top leaders approved the decision, but lower ranks of the party did not actively support the disbandment of Amhara Special Forces. And that is why we saw that at some meetings, Ethiopian army representatives, Ethiopian or Felgam representatives, they said that lower ranks of the party were violating party's guidelines, party's policy. And we saw the same when protests were held in the Amhara region a few weeks ago. Lower Prosperity Party officials became part of the protests. The government wanted Prosperity Party to play a role of mediation between the government and Fano fighters. But a few Prosperity Party leaders tried to speak on behalf of the government, like Mashitila, who was assassinated. We did not see other main Prosperity Party leaders supporting the government or trying to mediate between the government and Fano fighters. Some efforts were made reportedly, but overall we can say that Prosperity Party's lower ranks stood with the people of the Amhara region, with the protesters. That is why this meeting has been called. That is what we learned. The purpose of this meeting is to make changes. Those who are opposing party policies could be fired, and they'll be accused of poor performance or violation of party policy. And those who stood with the party, they'll be promoted. And there could be some new appointments too. So that is why a PP session starting from tomorrow in Bahir Dar is very crucial. If these low rank Prosperity Party officials are fired or suspended, what is going to be its impact on the security situation, political situation in the region? That we'll see in coming days. But ruling party is definitely faced with a challenge in the Amhara region. Security challenge in the form of resistance from Fano fighters, resistance from Amhara Special Force, former Amhara Special Force members, political challenge in the form of opposition from lower prosperity party ranks, economic challenge in all parts of Ethiopia due to rising food prices, and now farmers are protesting. Yesterday we saw protests in Bahir Dar, in two other places in the Amhara region. Farmers took to the streets yesterday against unavailability of fertilizers, high prices of fertilizers. So Amhara region is seeing several developments. Regional government is trying to control the situation. Yesterday, the government made some new appointments. North Gojam Zone Administrator has been appointed. His name is Asifa Telahon. In Central Gondar too, some new appointments have been made. PP-led government is trying to control the situation, but the problem is that majority of people, they consider the ruling party in the region, prosperity party leaders, they see them as supporters of federal government, as supporters of Oromia Prosperity Party. They are not being seen as true representatives of the Amhara region by some groups in the region. So this narrative is being built and shared. That is why we saw attack on Gurmashtila, and other prosperity party officials are worried as well for their security. Let's see which changes will be made in the upcoming meeting of the prosperity party. Second was alarming developments in a neighboring country, Sudan, which shares border with both Ethiopia and Eritrea. Tens of thousands of Ethiopian and Eritrean refugees are in Sudan. After Tigray war, more than 70,000 Ethiopians fled into Sudan. Eritreans already living there, around 100,000, more than that. These are refugees. I'm not talking about legally residing Ethiopians and Eritreans. These refugees, they are in Sudan, war is ongoing, and now they are being abducted by gangs who are transporting them to neighboring countries, or they're being abducted and kept in Sudan, and from there human traffickers are contacting their families, they're demanding ransom for the release. Eritrean refugees, Ethiopian refugees, they have gone through this sort of risks and hardships in the past as well, that whenever Eritreans wanted to leave Eritrea to reach Europe, on their way, sometimes they were abducted by traffickers who would then contact their family, their relatives for ransom. It has been happening, but now reportedly it is happening, it is intensifying in Sudan, because now there is no security apparatus has collapsed in Sudan. That is why gangs are exploiting the situation. Now incidents of kidnappings have increased. A Tigrayan confirmed, talking to an international news outlet, that he was abducted, his family had to pay ransom. Abducted from Sudan, outside refugee camps. Sometimes they have to leave the refugee camps. Whenever they leave the refugee camps, they are abducted by armed gangs operating in the vicinity of these camps. Where are Ethiopian and Eritrean governments? They are nowhere to be seen. I have not seen Ethiopian and Eritrean governments actively working to evacuate their citizens, their refugees from Sudan. Those who are reaching Sudan, Ethiopia, Sudan, Eritrea border, they are arriving here on their own. They paid high prices for tickets, by road travel tickets. Somehow they managed to reach the border. And those Eritreans who entered Kassala, they were abducted by Eritrean intelligence agents and they were taken forcibly to Eritrea. And if they tried to enter Ethiopia, Ethiopian authorities stopped them from entering Ethiopia, telling them to go to Eritrea. Both developments have been confirmed. So these Ethiopian and Eritreans refugees, they are at risk. They are their lives endangered. Governments are not doing enough. In fact, governments are neglecting their people in Sudan. People are at the mercy of human traffickers and smugglers. The government should intervene. I think this is the time to own your people. If now Ethiopia, especially Eritrea, owns its people in Sudan, it would be a big message for those who left their countries. They should be welcomed, they should be evacuated from Sudan. That is how they can be made part of the countries which they fled. That the country which owns them, they should live there. This feeling is missing. That is why they left, because they were facing economic hardships, they were facing persecution in some cases. And in Tigray, in neighboring regions, they were in danger, their lives in danger. Now they had to flee the country. It's the time for the governments to take back their people, to make them feel Ethiopians and Eritreans once again. Thank you for watching.